Hello and welcome. Do not worry, you've not come through to a Salvation Army broadcast. This is Testimony Thursday and this is Sheffield Christian Life Centre. My name is Paul Huggins. I am the chaplain for the Salvation Army Homelessness Services here in Sheffield, and I'm based at the Charterhoe Lifehouse. Now, if that sounds familiar to you, that's because your friend and member of your church, Andy Parkinson, is the service manager, and together we work to deliver the spiritual program here. I just want to say from the start, thank you ever so much for this opportunity to give my testimony. I've always been a member of the Salvation Army because my parents were members of the Salvation Army Church in Woodhouse, which is not too far away from your own church building. So I can remember just being took along, being dragged along, and it was only until I got to my late teens I realised that I questioned why I was in church. I had no relationship with God, and I knew a lot of stories, I knew a lot of knowledge from teachings, but I had no relationship with God. Church, after that, I just couldn't stand it anymore. I decided to leave. I left home. I moved in with a young lady, but I still had a long distance relationship with the church. I never left it completely. Every time I visited my parents, they'd tell me about people, what was happening in their lives, what was happening in the church. I also made guest appearances at the church, like harvest time, Christmas time, Mothering Sunday and Easter. Easter was the best one to go to, I found, because you got chocolate, and wow, chocolate and church. Ooh. But I still didn't want to be a part of it, and I still didn't want to know this God character. I found myself in a situation where a relationship breakup. I found myself back at home, and I wasn't dealing with that breakup too great. Now, I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I was really sad, and I just wasn't coping with life. My dad, in his wisdom, I believe it's wisdom, or he's just trying to get rid of me, sent me to Scotland to see my brother, who still is, but at the time he was a Salvation Army minister up in Scotland. My brother is an amazing bloke. He has such a great relationship with God. I recognise that now, but at the time I just thought, he's getting paid for doing absolute jack. But he had this really annoying voice, and he had this thing of telling you the right thing at the right time, but in this, I thought, was a really annoying vicar's voice. And I can remember having a conversation with him about football, and halfway through this conversation, he just stopped and looked at me and said, "Have you tried praying to God about your situation?" And I said, "Carl," I says, "I prayed all my life and nothing happens from it." And he saw again, and he must have turned the volume up on his annoying vicar's voice, and he says, "No, you read prayers off a piece of paper. I'm talking about a real conversation with God." So I sort of made my excuses and went up to my room. The next day I found myself just doing a touristy thing around there, and I can remember just being somewhere, and I just started crying because I just thought I have made such a mess of my life. I don't know what direction to go in with employment. Personal life was just like a minefield. But in the midst of the tears, I just thought, do you know what? I'm just doing this advice. And quite reluctantly, I can remember just saying, "God, if you're out there, help me, because everything I'm doing, I'm messing up." At that moment, I felt an arm come around my shoulder, and this voice in my head said, "I am with you. You're going to be all right. You're going to go through some difficult times, but I am with you." At the time, I didn't realise it was God. The arm around my shoulder freaked me out a little bit, to be honest, and I just chalked it up to, I don't know, experience, and left it at that. It was only when I got back home to Sheffield and I had to go through some difficult stuff, really, and every day I had this thought come into my head: I am with you. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. And to cut a long story even shorter, over the years, I opened my heart to this voice being Jesus. And the more I allowed him into my life, into my heart, and bearing in mind I had all this head knowledge about Jesus because what the church has told me, but just from being from there to there, that's 6 inches, wherever that is, my life completely changed. I wish I could tell you that after that day life was a life, it was happiness all the way. It wasn't. I still had difficult times ahead of me and still went through some really difficult times. But what was the biggest difference is that I had this voice, this comforting voice saying, I'm with you. We're going to get through this. My testimony could be summed up in one word: hope. When I felt I had no more hope, nowhere to move forward, Jesus came into my life, gave me hope. It took me a long time to realise it was Jesus, but he gave me hope. And even now, through these difficult times of COVID, I have the same voice. I am with you. We're going to get through this. Thank you.